Hey everyone, Johanna here. Kelly from Instagram asked if I had any particular tips to help her cut more cleanly by hand with scissors. I've been hoping somebody would ask me that question. Yes, I do have some tips, so stick around and I'll tell you what I know.
Before we get into cutting any fabric, let's make sure that we have the right grip on our fabric scissors. If you're right-handed, you'll have your right-handed scissors in your right hand. Left-handed scissors in my left hand. I'm left-handed, so I will do my actual cutting in this video with my left hand. Your index finger's on the outside. That's usually the major change that a lot of people aren't doing with their fabric scissors. You've got all of your fingers crammed backwards into that loop. It's not effective, it's not comfortable. Your index finger should be on the outside of your scissors. If you are left-handed and if you're using true left-handed scissors, most of us will get a cleaner cut with the paper to the right of the blades. With the paper to the right of the blades, and with my pattern to the right of the blades, I can see where the blade is going to meet the edge of the paper. I can really hug that edge really closely because I can see it. With right-handed scissors, the opposite is true. A lot of right-handed sewers get their cleanest cuts around a pattern with their paper to the left of the blade for the same reason. You can really follow the edge of the paper, you can see the blades coming together, and you can get a really clean cut that way. When you're actually making your cut, a beginner's error is trying to take too huge of a bite with the blades. If you're trying to take a massive full blade bite with your scissors can't really sit and glide along your cutting surface just because the blades are open too far. So I would say a good depth of cut would be anywhere from, maybe a quarter to no longer than half the length of your blades. So you don't have to take little teeny weeny little micro bites, but, having, maybe between a quarter, a third, or halfway up the blades is good enough, and you are still able to cut cleanly and smoothly against the surface of your table, which is what you should be doing. We shouldn't be holding our fabric up in the air and trying to make clean cuts that way. So the first tip in actually cutting is glide your fabric scissors against your surface as you cut.
If you're watching an experienced sewer cut fabric, it may appear that the scissors are in constant motion during the course of making those cuts, and that's not actually what's happening. What's happening is this. So your scissors are going to get slipped into the fabric. We are stopped, we are paused in place while we take a bite with our scissors, and I am not cutting all the way through. I'm leaving just a little bit uncut, so my fabric is still between the blades of the scissors, and that makes it easier for me to open up the blades, move forward, pause again, take a bite almost to the tips, but not quite, open up my blades a bit, move forward, pause, and take the bite, etc., and you can eventually clip through. So if you are pushing your blades through the fabric like you are cutting off a hunk of wrapping paper, you will have a jagged cut. If you are taking your fabric and pulling it into the blades, you will also get into some jagged cuts that are not clean. So the action is slip your scissors, slip the fabric between the blades of your scissors, pause, take a bite, almost all the way through, but not quite, stop and open up, move forward, stop, take a bite, slide forward, stop, take a bite, slide forward, take a bite, etc., and eventually cut through. That's the action of the scissors in the fabric.
The other bit is, what is your non-cutting hand doing to help you as you are cutting out your fabric? Beginners are inclined to plant their non-cutting hand on the shape that they're cutting out and holding this down while you try to cut around it. So if you're doing that, you're not going to be able to hold as clean of a line because there is no tension on the extra fabric here. There's no tension on the scrap, meaning as you're cutting around this extra fabric is just kind of flopping around like a wet noodle, and it's hard to control, and also additionally, as a result, harder to cut a cleaner line. So my advice for what to do with your non-cutting hand, it might seem a bit counterintuitive, but it works. So to begin my cut here, and again, I'm cutting as a left-handed person. To get started, I'm just going to turn this around a little bit. To get started, I will hold the starting point, the beginning edge of my fabric with my right hand just lightly so I can get my scissors in there, and then I can begin to cut, and I can hug the edge of that paper pretty closely. All right, so after I get a few inches in, I will take my hand and lightly slip my finger under the blades here and hold the scrap lightly against the table. I'm not peeling it up in the air. I'm not moving it around. I'm not, peeling it away. I'm lightly holding it with one finger against the table, and then I can continue to make my cut along the edge of the paper. When you come to an end and you're turning a corner, go ahead and overcut a little bit. Instead of trying to make a surgical 90-degree turn here, that's kind of hard to do. If I had less fabric here, I would be cutting through and cutting off and just turning the work around. So as I have a little bit of extra fabric there, I might want to use that for something else. I can go ahead and turn the work if I'm cutting something small, and just flop this out of the way, get myself started again, hug the edge of the paper as closely as you can, and just carefully use the edge of the paper against the edge of your blades where you can see it. All right, so there are a few tips to help you cut more cleanly with scissors. I hope that helps.